I'm going to show you how to replace any cord end. Maybe yours is getting frayed or got chopped, or you cut into it with a Sawzall. I'm going to replace this extension cord end faster than it would take for you to drive to the store and buy a new one. Start by cutting off your cord end and throwing it into the trash. Now you got to figure out how much wire sheathing you have to take off. You can measure or eyeball it, but you do want this yellow part right here to grab hold of the orange sheathing. And on the other side, I know the wires will butt up to this side right here. If that's confusing, here's the final product. You want the wires butted up on the one side, as you can see through this plastic, and you want this orange sheathing clamped down by this yellow plastic. Now we have to remove this insulation and just make a cut all the way around, and be careful not to cut into the wires. You can make several passes and you could always cut more. And when it flies off, make sure you don't ram your fist into a utility knife like I did right here. Now just cut off any insulation or anything that's not the 3 wires. One tip is to loosen all of these screws beforehand. This will give you a lot of room to work. Now we have to strip the wires. These wires go in these little terminals right here. So you want to get just the length of the terminal. These wire strippers have the different size for stranded and solid, so you want to make sure to cut the stranded size, and this is 16 gauge. If you don't know what size or gauge your wire is, look on the cord itself. It'll most likely be followed with an AWG if you're in America. Like right here, my editing monitor is 16 AWG. And if you don't know or you don't want to look, just start with the bigger hole and keep working your way down. I always twist them around after they're done, kind of gets them nice and straight. Now just put the wires through the housing and just get it out of the way. This metal piece right here will slide and pinch the wires when you turn the screw in. You definitely want to find a design like this. You don't want the cheaper ones where you have to make this little hook with your wire. Now just slide your wires in and start tightening it down. Ideally, you do not want any insulation clamped down, and you want the wires sticking through all the way and even sticking out at the very end. Now's a good time to tell you that the black wire goes to brass, so think B goes to B, and the white wire always goes to silver, and then of course green goes to green. Although this housing is plastic, it is really durable and made by a good brand, and I would highly recommend you get this exact one. I'll explain here in a little bit why I like it, and also a few tips to look out for if you do go the cheaper route. Now it's time to connect our housing. That little male tab goes into that little female tab right there, and you just screw it to it. I like to go in about 90% and then go and tighten everything up at the last. Now we need to screw down this clamp, and it's important that the clamp is around the orange sheathing right here, because if it gets pulled or yanked on, it'll pull on this sheathing rather than putting tension on the wires. Another reason I like this is because you never have to guess if it has power or not. It has this little light that's built into it whenever the power is plugged in. Another pet peeve is when there's nothing really to grab onto and it feels like you're going to get shocked. That's why I only like buying these big bulky outlets like you see right here. Before I get to my tips on if you are going to use a cheap connector, I'll mention that I do have all these Amazon links below on the tools and materials you see here today. So if you buy these cheap ones, they are still good, but there are a few things to know. You're going to have to use J-hooks on the wire around these screws, and I don't really like that. I don't feel it's real secure. But they do give you a strip gauge to show you how long to strip your wires. This one is limited to 16 to 18 gauge wires, so you want to look out for that too. What you're seeing here is from my video, Extension Cords 101, which is in the bottom left-hand corner. And if you want to learn a skill in 2 minutes, click on the playlist in the bottom right-hand corner called 2-Minute Tutorials.